A Wish for Wings That Work by Berkeley Breathed. It was a good morning to fly, even it had come late and slow and so cold that a penguin feared his nose might freeze and drop off. Fly, Opus whispered to himself as he ran to the top of the ridge to watch the snow ducks soar. Fly, he whispered. But it was on mornings such as this that Opus's heart grew as cold as his nose. A penguin can surely say the word fly, but he cannot do it. A bird with wings that won't work? Opus growled to himself. What good is that? What good am I? I might as well have been born a snail. One day he climbed the statue in the park and offered to share his last pickle with the pigeons. But they just rolled their eyes. It's not our pleasure, they sniffed, to share pickles with birds whose wings do not work. If my wings will not lift me, I'll find something that does, thought Opus. He heard a man on TV about a new product everyone should own called a flap-o-matic. He ordered one. When it arrived, he put it together and hoped everything was right, since the instructions were hard. Opus carried it up to the top of the hill, strapped it on, and wound up the rubber band. Stepping to the edge, he looked down. Yow, he gulped. He sighed and walked back home and spent the rest of the day eating anchovy Christmas cookies. And then Opus knew what he should do. That night he sat in front of a warm fireplace and wrote an important letter. Dear Santa Claus, in the past I have asked for a scarf that would last. I have wished for new skates or some herring rum cakes. But since my wings sputter, at times when they should flutter, I thought you should know I need wings that will go. After mailing his Christmas wish, Opus congratulated himself that a penguin could be so clever. Santa Claus will be bringing me new wings, Opus announced to a passing snow duck. I shall be flying on Christmas morning. Christmas Eve soon arrived, and after leaving a note of welcome to Santa Claus in the fireplace, the penguin whose wings would not work tucked himself into bed. He buried down deep in his quilt, curled up. Fly, Opus whispered himself just before falling asleep. I'll be flying on Christmas morning. And then he was snoring. Look, there above the hills, above the clouds, a soft glow, growing brighter. What was it? It was much too early for the sun. Maybe it was a duck with a flashlight. Listen, sleigh bells ringing. Ducks don't wear sleigh bells. Why, it was him, of course, with the thunder of hooves. Father Christmas himself burst through the clouds. On over the countryside, Santa's sleigh swooped and glided and zoomed. Wait, there was a bump, a little thump. Probably just some bumpy air. Or maybe not. Something was not right. A small piece of harness had broken away, and the reindeer flew on, but Santa's sleigh plummeted toward the lake. Hello, wake up, emergency, a voice hollered. Who's jumping on my bed? Asked Opus, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. A snow duck was holding a light over Opus and looking upset. Catastrophe! A considerable setback! Follow me! Opus sighed and guessed the milkman had slipped and got his head stuck. He crawled out of bed and stumbled outside behind his midnight visitor. There, said the snow ducks, and they pointed toward the dark lake. They lifted the little penguin so he could see better. Opus could make out something, a lantern on the water, a big man with a white beard, standing atop a sleigh that was teetering, rocking, and sinking. Opus gasped in horror. Down the snowy bank, Opus ran, a flash of black and white as he hit the water. With a roar, a shimmering curtain of spray whushed up behind him. It held the air for the longest seconds, and then fell. Toad frogs leaped, catfish jumped, and Opus flew strong and fast through the water. A graceful torpedo sailing through darkness. He was swimming And swimming, after all, is what penguins do best. There, whispered a snow duck from the water's edge. Look there, he said, pointing now, for something was moving towards them. It was Opus, and he was pulling the great Christmas sled and all the toys through the freezing water with the reins in his teeth. There was sloshing and frothing and laughing. Someone was laughing. Out of the sleigh a deep voice drifted over the water. Ho, 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 it rumbled. Ho, 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 go! Opus stumbled, exhausted, onto the dock. His arms ached, and it hurt to breathe, and he noticed many's eyes watching him, and he tried his best to straighten his red bow tie. He'd brought the sleigh safely to shore, and the reindeer were waiting there patiently. The large man in the red suit approached, grasped his hand, and shook it gently. Santa's wide, pink face came down close, and his whiskers brushed Opus's ear. Opus noticed his kind eyes, one of which winked softly. I see no penguins here, Santa whispered, whose wings only sputter. Tonight it was courage that flew yours beyond others. He whirled, and with a snap of a whip and a hearty laugh, he and the sleigh sailed up toward the stars. Opus awoke Christmas morning and stumbled sleepily to the door, and he found something beside the paper. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief, and there on his front porch, spreading out across the lawn and down the street, were hundreds, thousands of smiling snowducks. And each and every one had a little bright red bow tie. Two of the ducks took a hold of his arms and led him outside, where slowly at first, and then faster, they all began running and flapping their wings. What's going on? Said Opus. But he already knew, for his feet weren't on the ground anymore. Over the street and over the houses those ducks carried Opus until they were way, way up. Down below, people looked, for they could hear a voice somewhere above the clouds. It was a penguin whose wings didn't work, laughing because he surely was flying on Christmas morning. The end.